Good morning. I'm glad you're here, and we welcome Mr. Alexander Hildebrand to the committee. Welcome to you.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad you're here. I wanted to tell you some things that I'm glad you're here for. This committee is made up of persons that report who have everything to do with our lives, assessing our property, keeping it safe, letting us vote, taking care of our animals, so you'll find it interesting. And what else I like is how well attended it is. I'm always so proud of you all for coming, because that's good in our discussion, that we can discuss and know what's going on because we've been here before. I like the diversity of the committee, that there's many women on this committee, which is very nice. I like the age diversity, and I'll tell you why. 60 years ago, I graduated from Bradley High School. Matthew's grandmother, Linda Hildebrand, graduated with me. And now her grandson is on the county board, and we're together. He sits up front, I sit behind him. So that's an age diversity for sure. So welcome, Matthew, to that. Okay.
Thank you for welcoming me.
That's good. And I'm sure they're proud of you, Matthew. Call the meeting to order. I don't have any slips of public comment other than what I just did. I don't believe there are any presentations. But we will take roll call. Let's do that.
Ms. Weber?
Present.
Ms. Parker? Ms. Polk?
Present.
Mr. Snipes?
Present.
Ms. Peters?
Present.
Mr. Tholen? Mr. Carrico?
Present.
Mr. Kirkstra?
Present.
Mr. Darrell Smith?
Present.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Present.
Ms. Bryan?
Present.
Ms. Hudson?
Present.
Mr. Kenneth Smith?
Present.
Mr. Alexander Hildebrand?
Present.
Mr. Wheeler?
Present.
Mr. Seroy? We have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to ask if one of you would move that we accept the February 16th minutes, as well as the reports from animal control and the assessor and the recorder.
Polk.
Okay. Ms. Bryant will move it. Ms. Polk will second it. We'll have a roll call vote, please.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Ms. Parker? Aye. Ms. Polk?
Aye.
Mr. Snipes?
Aye.
Ms. Peters?
Aye.
Mr. Carrico?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra?
Aye.
Mr. Darrell Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Aye.
Ms. Bryan?
Aye.
Ms. Hudson?
Aye.
Mr. Kenneth Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Alexander?
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Okay, Mr. Hendrickson, if you'd like to come up and sit by us, I'd like to ask, that we have a change in the agenda. Is that so? Miss Carrie Laird has asked that we change the agenda to allow her to go first. She needs to be in the care of the animals. So would someone move to change the agenda to move her first? Miss Parker will move it, and Miss Peters will second it. Do we need a roll call for that? By consensus, we'll do that. That's okay. I will. Roll call on changing the agenda.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Ms. Parker? Aye. Ms. Polk?
Aye.
Mr. Snipes?
Aye.
Ms. Peters?
Aye.
Mr. Carrico?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra?
Aye.
Mr. Darrell Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Aye.
Ms. Bryan?
Aye.
Ms. Hudson?
Aye.
Mr. Kenneth Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Alexander?
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, Carrie, please go ahead.
Thank you for letting me go first. I truly appreciate it.
Sure.
We're transporting some dogs down to Champaign, and we are also going to a site visit for their facility. So thank you. For this report this month, the only thing I really have to detail is the donations. You'll notice there was $7,200 in donations, which was a significant amount. Usually on an average year, we get around $2,000. We had a large donor come in. He and his wife came in and they donated $2,500 themselves just for our facility. That was to buy covers for the outside runs, to buy an iPad for the officers on call so they can remote into their computer when we get better internet service, to buy an otoscope for a veterinarian, to provide some other medication for the animals. The other portions were donated by a breed group that got together and donated close to $5,000 for us because of an incident that occurred in January. So we truly appreciate those donors. We truly appreciate their care and compassion towards the animals that we care for at Animal Control.
Carrie, you know what, I don't know which line to look on for the $7,000. Do you think it's not in the January? Maybe it'll be in the February report?
It is in the February report. Are we doing January?
Don't you all believe that January is what's here? Yes. Yeah. So,
Nice. I could have sent the wrong one.
but anyhow, I mean, that's the good news. The bad news, we don't have the right report. The good news is the right one does have a lot of money on it. So
It does,
that's
yes.
good. Yeah. So when you reported the $7,000, and I think when you told us this the other day, it was as much as blank number of years. It was like 5 years worth of donations or something. Isn't it?
About 4 years donations.
4
yes.
years of donations, and have gotten to using it already is the good news then too.
We have, yeah. We used it for an otoscope, for an iPad, and for some medication so far for the veterinarian. The other things we're waiting for the spring to clear up, for the weather to clear up from the spring, and then we're going to use it for some other stuff for the animals.
Yeah, so that's fine. Any questions for her, Carrie? The other is, we sometimes have a question on euthanasias, and you always mention to us that in 5 out of the 7 on your report, in this case, were there more than 7 for February, or January is all we can talk about? February had 5
we
were
opened January.
5 were people who brought them in, the owner request, and just 2 were of other reasons. So that's the only reason.
Yes, so we do allow people to come in, and they do owner-elect euthanasia. So if you have a personal pet, then you can come here. We are sometimes less expensive than a veterinarian.
Oh.
We just don't provide services such as cremation. We let you know that you can have your animal cremated. They can pick the animal up from us, though. We do provide euthanasia here. So a lot of our euthanasia stats have been owner-elect euthanasia.
Mm-hmm. Which is a caring thing to do when your pet is no longer quality of life then too.
Absolutely, yes.
The other thing you mentioned the other day was that the relationship with Bourbonnais in your contract is working well.
Yes, we've had quite a few calls from the public, and we are able to get up and go as soon as the public calls without having to go through Bourbonnais Police Office and telling them, call Bourbonnais, then they'll call us, which creates a delay in the timeline for the animals if they're not contained. So then we've been able to go and assist those animals quicker than we normally would.
Yeah, and that was the whole purpose. The whole
Absolutely,
purpose
yes.
is being served. So I appreciated that report the other day too. Anything else for Ms. Laird? Okay, thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Thank you. I can stay a little bit longer if you have other questions, but thank you.
Oh, there is one here. Carrie, please hold on.
Sure.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes, about how many animals do you have in the shelter area right now?
Currently, we have approximately 8 dogs. I think the end of, if I could look at February stats real quick, we had 9 dogs and 6 cats. We don't have any cats currently, but it is kitten season, so we'll be expecting those quickly. But we have approximately 8 dogs right now. Soon to be two less.
Thank
But
you.
who knows what the day will bring? It could be 15 by the end of the day. So
And your report shows that, 11 and 11 were transferred to other organizations for adoption. Is that right? Isn't that what you said to us
yes,
in the past?
yes.
Even though it says you dealt with 13 dogs, 11 cats, it has a T by them, which means they were transferred.
Transferred, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
We did have some adoptions in February.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Again, have a good day.
You too.
Okay, there we go. To the voting man. He has everything going on today in his office.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
Did monthly reports? Monthly reports?
We did approve the monthly report.
I'll shut up
Does
then.
it?
Morning.
Three?
Thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you.
See if we can do it this way. Just wanted to let everybody know that we had originally planned on starting early voting on the 19th. We're ready, so we're going to start early voting tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Is there somebody that's,
Is that a good idea, everybody?
okay? Okay.
Oh, it was an approval.
Oh,
Oh, cool.
we had a candidate slated for city clerk for Kankakee. That was the original reason we should have been voting by now, but once we declared the winners for the primary election, and we were able to do that last Tuesday, they had 5 days to slate candidates for vacancy, and they slated those candidates, filed it with the city clerk. We got those on Friday and got them on the ballots, got everything ready to go. Did receive notice yesterday from the city clerk's office that there has been an objection filed to that slating. Spoken with the state's attorney about it, and he's of the opinion, and I agree with him, that there's nothing in there at this point that should stop us from early voting. So we will be ready tomorrow for anybody in the county that wants to come in and vote. We do have a master specimen ballot on our Kankakee County Clerk website. So if you wanted to see everybody who's running for everything, we've got that on there right now. We will have individual specimen ballots available on the Kankakee Votes website. That probably won't be until the end of the week, first part of next week. The other thing that I wanted to touch base on briefly, I did receive notice a couple of weeks ago, and I've shared this with the chairman. The software that we use to create our ballots, it's called GEMS. We've been using it in-house since 2007. Our vendor, and it's Dominion Voting, has said that they will no longer support it at the end of this contract. So we've talked for quite a while about that we're at the end of the life cycle for this voting equipment. This kind of prods us to begin serious exploration of getting new voting equipment. I would like to have new equipment in place. This is the ideal time to do it. After the consolidated election, we've got a significant window of time to purchase this equipment, to get it out so that people can see the equipment, so they know what to expect when they're voting, and to do as much education to the public as we can. To that end, I will anticipate inviting some vendors to the county end of May, first part of June. We'll bring in some any county board member that's interested, certainly some election judges, some of our judges that do the early voting, so that they can look at the equipment and give us an honest opinion about, what equipment they think works best. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have to the best of my ability.
Do you know what you're looking for?
Voting equipment?
No. Oh, do you have an idea? I want the one with the chrome on it, or do you have an idea what you want?
Well, I want to go into this with as an open mind as possible. In Illinois, there's 3-4 vendors that provide voting equipment, so it's it needs to be certified by the state in order to use it as voting equipment, and there's only a few vendors that would qualify.
I'm glad there's more than one, actually.
Yes, me too. So,
Mr. Smith, let me get you on here. 5. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
When will the mail in ballots come to the home?
Recognizing Pat. Ms. Polk, you're asking when will the mail-in ballots come to your house?
We should have ballots out in the mail today.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, cool. Okay, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Dan, how much money do we have available for this?
And the county clerk budget?
Yeah.
We have no money available in the county clerk budget for voting equipment.
So the last time you did this, what did it cost the county?
Last time we did this would have been in 2004 when we purchased the optical scan equipment, and we had grants available from the Help America Vote Act. And we also had some residual funds from for the touchscreen equipment when we purchased that in 2006, 2007. So it was not out of, basically what the county paid for it out of pocket was minimal.
Let me try another tact. What's this going to cost?
I've got one quote from one vendor, ballpark figure for a 6-year lease, about $686,000.
That's what you thought?
You're writing for grants now?
We are exploring opportunities for grants.
And there are some available, you think?
I don't
know.
Right.
Ms. Bryan?
Were the touch screens also gonna have to be replaced?
Yes. Yeah, both the touchscreen equipment and the optical scan units both run off of GEMS.
Oh. Mhm.
Thank you.
So, and all of that equipment, I mean, those touchscreen devices, basically think of it as a big laptop computer, a tablet
sure.
computer
Mhm.
that's 12 years old. And how many of you have a computer that's 12 years old?
Peters, Mrs. Chairman.
Okay, Ms. Peters, then we have two in the room. Go ahead.
Thank you. I've been on the board 6 years, going on 7. There was a major purchase since I've been on the board. That was ebooks.
Correct.
And are you looking? Will those be usable at all? Or
Absolutely will be. Those are separate from the voting equipment itself.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Snipes, I think you're 11. Okay.
Thank you. I do know that we're at the point of it being vintage. What my concern is whether or not, because we know that this is going to come up at some particular point in time, and I don't know if it's on us or you or in collaboration, where there should be a set aside funding or whatever to basically, or a sundry account that basically is kind of building funding for such a time as this, where we're not at zero trying to find it, but because we know or anticipate that we do have to upgrade the equipment at some point, that there is some buffer there as to an account. Has that ever been considered?
I wouldn't disagree with you in your assessment of that. I don't know that the county's finances have ever provided for that.
Putting aside.
Correct.
You have a good plan.
That's a better question for the finance committee than it is for me.
I know we're dealing with other issues, GIS and things of that nature. There are little fees or something that's there dedicated, and it's just for the life of me, because we have to do the provide the voting machines and things of this nature. So at some point, and judges would have to dictate that we would have to have a fund for that particular purpose. And I just kind of like to see something that's there versus starting at ground zero.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Hunter, first of all.
Yeah, Madam Chair, and I think you kind of intimated my question to one of the rock stars regarding does he know what he wants? But if you had a magic wand, Dan, what would you like to see in terms of the latest technology? I'm sure that you get catalogs and everything else, and you interface with vendors. What would you like to see?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I've only seen one of the one type of voting equipment. So I don't want to say, I mean, that one that I've seen would work perfectly fine for Kankakee County. I want to go into this with an open mind, however, and look at the other equipment and say, what are the strengths or weaknesses of vendor B, vendor C, as opposed to vendor A. So.
Okay.
Mr. Wheeler.
Yeah, I apologize. I was talking with my colleague here in front of me. What was the number? You expressed a number to me last week when we talked. What was the number for this one vendor?
$686,660.
Yeah. So
that would be if they did the programming for us. If we do the programming, then it would drop to $654,160 for a 6-year lease.
Is that with all the ballots and everything as we talked
That
about?
does include ballots for the 6 elections, or 9 elections, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Also includes our supplies, our precinct kits, and those are roughly about $100 a piece times 57 polling places. So $5,000 an election. Ballots cost us 28 cents a piece currently. And you know, for the November election, we probably did 60,000 ballots, so you're looking at $17,000. So some of that is folded into that cost.
And an interest rate is folded into that cost as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's folded in? Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can lease this, making quarterly payments of $54,000 a quarter. And if we wanted to extend that for 8 additional quarters at the end of the lease, we would own the equipment.
Oh, but then
So
it's out of date now.
well, I mean, that's going to be the nature of, and I don't know that, I mean, I know the equipment we have that hasn't been manufactured in a really long time. It was originally Diebold equipment, and Diebold got out of the election business
Florida
10 years ago, easily. So I, you know, this equipment from this vendor is Unison equipment. I don't know. I mean, I can't look into a crystal ball and say that 10 years from now they'll be continuing to make equipment or.
No.
my point is that during a budget year with a set budget where we had just got out of the hole running $15 million deficits, where we were trying to keep the county open, potentially shutting down and laying people off, now we're to the point where we can take a breath, and then this hits us during a budget year when there is no money currently for that purchase. So I'm not blaming you. I'm just, that's the reality of saying that we can somehow should have had a fund established. We had a fund established for survival. It was called the general fund.
Sure.
And we were spending next year's taxes this year. And we did that for about 7 years. So that's the reality. We're going to find a way to do this. I don't know how.
Yeah.
We have to. We don't have a choice. As I asked Dan, I said, what's the alternative? He says, well, if the software fails, I change my name and good luck finding me. Because it would be an awful situation for every, it's a facetious joke, but it's true. You can't fail on an election. And we won.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, if we just said that there's no money available, could we continue to use this equipment for 2 years? Yeah, in theory we could. But that means that the software that we're using, I might be the only jurisdiction in Illinois that's using it. There is no support anyplace.
Can't happen.
I don't know that I'm entirely comfortable with that. You know, it would be a lot like being one of the flying Walendas, and sometimes they do great and wonderful things, and sometimes bad things happen. So.
Well, I asked him before the meeting, what is the trade-in value of our current equipment, and he said, nil. Nobody would buy it.
We were fortunate enough to, for last year with the unprecedented amount of elections, there was a couple of other counties that just got new equipment for the presidential election, and we purchased some of their better equipment for $100 a piece. So that was enough for spares, but even if you took all of that equipment, I mean, you would have to hire somebody to cannibalize that equipment to try to make good machines. I don't necessarily know that it's cost effective. And then you still have the software issue.
I just want to mention that it was a facetious joke. Dan by no means would ever skirt his responsibility, but that would be probably the worst thing that I think a clerk would ever go through, is if the software failed on voting day.
Oh my.
Can you imagine anything worse?
Dan would throw up a lot that day.
Yeah.
Imagine that. So thank you for your report and giving us a length of time.
Sure.
So at next month's meeting, you might be able to say you visited with.
No, actually what I want to do is post April election, we've got to turn our focus immediately to tax extensions. We've got to get those over to the treasurer, and it's our goal to get those to them the end of April. So I would like to get a hold of those vendors and set up something so that there is a public demonstration of this equipment. We certainly want to be as open and transparent as possible with this process. I don't want it to be, well, this is Dan's choice for the machines.
So would you
So,
think at our April meeting, would you have something for us to look at, you think?
I think that what I'm looking at scheduling this voter presentation would probably be at the end of May.
End of May. Okay, Mr. Snipes.
I almost dread asking this question. Definitely two parts, but I'm asking it because last night when I attended the city council meeting, I noticed they got a $14.5 million windfall from the federal government, and I guess because they're on the 50,000 population, it goes through the state and then comes to them, I guess, in two-part increments, and the only thing it cannot be used for is pensions or whatever. I'm trying to figure as the because this is part of the election process, are there no federal or state funding available? And I know I try to say that with clenched teeth.
I understand.
And if not, this windfall that has come to the city, however, is there a way that have they considered the counties as far as this windfall is concerned?
I can't speak to that.
No, that new money. But you can't speak to the first one, whether the state or federal have put any...
No grants that I'm aware.
You didn't want those answers, did you?
Right.
Anybody else?
That doesn't mean that I won't exhaust every avenue trying to find something.
I'm sure you will.
Right.
I think we should emphasize the importance of the election on April 6th, because it's the very people that run your villages and your township, in our libraries,
Parks
in our
and libraries
community college,
and schools.
So it's the very, very people that run everything in our daily lives. So.
Exactly. It is the bulk of your property tax bill. So.
Right, the bulk of your tax bill. And what I like very much, because I searched on Sunday, what he said is you can see all of the people running for office on your website. That is very important before a person votes.
Yes. And like I said, we will have individualized specimen ballots available. Certainly, if you want one now, stop by the office. We can get you taken care of, or give the office a call. But we are anticipating putting that on Kankakee votes as soon as we reasonably can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. I'm sorry that you're going to face this stress, but you have it every
That's
day.
why I get paid the big
That's why you
bucks.
get paid. You're a stress man. Anything else? Anything from Zoom that you have a question? Okay,
Thank you all very much. Have a great day.
Hi, Mr. Blair. What do you have for us today?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have just a few brief things to go over, so I'll get started. Wanted to let the committee know that we did receive the final abstract certification from the Department of Revenue a couple days after our last meeting. So that's something that, Dan had said that he was going to start tax extension here soon, and certainly a big part of being able to do that is getting that final abstract certification from the Department of Revenue. So that part is done from my perspective. And then along with his starting tax extension here pretty soon, we need to make sure that all of our 2020 homestead exemptions and all of those exemptions are entered into the system. I've been told as early as maybe the end of the day tomorrow, and we are on track to do that. Everything that we have in our office for 2020 is currently entered, and if we get anything today, we'll certainly continue to enter those exemptions. And the more the exemptions that we get in the system prior to the clerk's office kind of cutting us off, obviously the more accurate that tax extension for the tax rate is going to be. So that's one of our focuses this time of year, and we're on point doing that. As far as some things that are coming up, I'm still waiting for the Department of Revenue to give me a detailed sales list on the 2020 sales ratio study. It's typical this time of year that I would still be waiting for it, but we'll see if I get that soon, or if the Department of Revenue kind of lags behind as with COVID and the fact that they're only in the office 1 day a week, that could drag out a little bit more than normal. Once we get that detailed sales list and we go through it and reconcile with them what sales qualify for our sales ratio studies and which ones don't, we would be looking for the Department of Revenue to certify that 2020 sales ratio study for us. And then as we look into the future, just another month or two, we also in my department are responsible for the maintenance of the ownership of record for tax bill mailing address and things of that nature. So we're going to be working in April and May, making sure through the end of April, making sure that all of the ownership of record and the tax bill mailing addresses are accurate in our system, so that when the treasurer goes to print the tax bill, it's going to the right place, it's going to the right person, and we try to do that up to the minute right before he pushes the button to create the bill. So of course the minute he pushes the button and creates all of the bills, something will get recorded in the recorder's office, and that particular parcel is out of date. There's nothing we can do about that, but we want to make sure that we're as caught up as possible in that moment. So those are the things that we're thinking about in the next month or two. And the last thing that I had for you, I had hired a gentleman in February. He actually was offered a different position somewhere else, and he's accepted it. So his last day is going to be this Friday. I'm going to have to re-post the position. That posting actually occurred yesterday, so I'll begin the search again for that fifth staff member. With that, I'll take any questions you might have.
I just have a couple. One is that in this year where the recorder has mentioned how many changes of ownership there have been, it must be quite a task for you to update all those addresses. It must be very many.
It is. It's something that we keep up with on a weekly basis, and that's just a paramount importance that the person who's responsible for that make sure that gets taken care of. And right now we might be just a few days out from being perfectly right up to the minute. So we're in good shape at the moment.
Thank you. The second one is our minutes. You mentioned that there was a suit. Is there an update? Were you being sued?
I don't have an update at this point. It's so early in the process. I believe the state's attorney's office has filed their record of appearance for me, and that's as far as we've gotten in that task.
So it's ongoing.
It is, and I believe it's going to take a little while, as those things typically do.
Sure. Okay. Any questions from Zoom or in the room? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Blair.
Have a great day, folks.
Yes. Turn next in your packet to the recorder's report. Good morning to you.
Good morning, everyone.
Sunny look.
How are we doing?
Okay. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Thank you.
So we have approved your report.
Okay. Not bad.
And it's 136,000.
Mm-hmm.
Not the numbers before, but if a person looks back 2 years, it is much more than the last 2 years.
It
so
is.
Just amazing, isn't it?
So, and I will constantly say, Kankakee County is moving forward. We are rebuilding. We are growing forward. We are not regressing. Good things are happening. They don't all happen in the same month. Eric definitely would not like that to happen.
No.
As you know, there's this coordination between my office and Eric's office and Dan's office. So as we get it, they get it, so that records are updated. And so it's going well.
Yeah.
The process is going well. If you look at just the state stamp amount, that gives you an idea. State stamps are valued at $1 per 1,000. So if you take that, that gives you an idea for that month of transfer stamps values.
Add some more 3 zeros to it.
Yeah, so it's a good thing. It's a great thing for our county as a whole, and we should be very excited and proud and.
Yeah, for the page that you're speaking of here, if we were to look down state stamp and look at the high numbers for December for
previous
sure, and then 2021, but then look down at the year 19, the rest of 19, and no number quite gets to where we are in these,
I know. Well, we did have a November in 19 that was pretty healthy, but we're still kind of very COVID concerned. Everyone, not only us here at the county, but the realtors and the title companies and the banks, we've all learned how to work through this and champion it, and this is the result of that.
Well, and online, you mentioned what a bravo that was. How many people are working with you online
absolutely.
instead of coming in?
Dumping in those 12 years has made a huge difference to those people who are working so hard to make sure we all have clean titles when we go to the signing and closings and go forward.
So is there any comment or question? I learned yesterday that every house in Herscher that was for sale has been sold.
Wow, that's awesome.
And as the water clerk, I can tell you that's a lot of work.
That's very good.
It's very good.
We'll look forward to those documents coming in. Yes.
Yeah, and that's a ripple again.
Yes, that's exactly how it happens. Yeah. So. And as you know, there is kind of this little moratorium on foreclosures. And I think even Ben mentioned it when he was talking about the land bank. As we start opening up and getting back into whatever is going to be our new normal, because we're never going to have that old normal, we're going to start seeing, some of those unfortunates with the number of foreclosures. But right now it's very, very minimal. And so I think as a county and the efforts that are going forward with the land bank, I think we're going to have a pretty cool Kankakee County future. So
let me ask Mr. Wheeler, do you concur with that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's a lot of work to get there.
A lot of work.
We all seem like we're pointing in the right direction.
Right.
All communities.
Right.
Just upgrading neighborhoods is never wrong.
No. Correct.
Good.
No.
I just worry that with the bubble that exists right now in housing prices, that if there are foreclosures, rentals will be more expensive than they are today.
Oh.
That's something I've been thinking about lately, because it would make sense if you got more invested in the house, you're going to charge more for rent.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're already hearing that there's some activity like that, especially in the larger apartment complexes that, regardless of COVID, rent went up $100.
Oh.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Hopefully that's not everywhere, and we can get our hands on it, right? So other than that, that's all I have. Things are great in the office moving forward. Our computer upgrade we went through is 6 months old now. We're championing it. Staff is doing a phenomenal job. We are tackling away at that 155,000 images we inputted into the system. And things are just going great. So I'm very, very proud of them. And again, as I always say, you're always welcome to come in and meet the staff, see the office, see what's going on, ask questions. If you want to look up your property, we'll show you how to do it. So,
I hope people will do that, and I intend to do that too. Even though you're not used to as much public lately. But that would be okay.
You'd be surprised the number of searchers we've had in lately. We've actually had to reshift some people around because we are adhering to our 4 people and all that in the back. So, but we make accommodations to make it work. So,
thank you very much.
Okay.
What good news you have, always.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Bryan.
How are the lights in your office?
So as of right now, I put in a work order and Wes replaced just with fluorescent lighting. So I have not heard back from him as to what has transpired further. I know him and the chairman had talked about getting a bid on the LED. I had put in a request to have LED light bulbs used as replacements in my office. We are now, our workspace engagement includes 2 monitors, lots of colors, lots of everything. If that's your primary workspace, This fluorescent lighting gives you nothing but a headache.
Oh.
So I'm trying to give my staff members a better experience. I tested it. I went out and bought my own LED light bulbs, put them in one of the lights, and it's remarkable, the difference. So I talked to the chairman, I talked to Wes, and I'm not sure where that's at as of right now.
I thought you already had them in.
No,
Okay.
just the ones I put in as a sample.
We, the cost benefit analysis was underway. He was trying to figure out how many years you have to go before you pay for the increased cost. Also, if without changing the ballasts, some of that time period is lower because they burn out quicker without the different ballasts in them. And then there's the fact that we have literally thousands of fluorescent bulbs in inventory to use. And so my fear is, and it's not just the one-off of the office, it's when everybody wants to replace to LED, and then we've got all this expense that we've got stored to use. So it could be, we go that way as we get rid of the fluorescents. That's kind of where we're at, because we just don't want to throw away money.
Right,
Does that
no,
make
absolutely.
sense? So I mean, that's kind of where we're at, but I don't have a firm number on how many years does it take to basically pay yourself back for the added investment. So I wished I had an answer, but I don't. Kind of fell by the wayside, to be honest.
Thank you for your question, because it's valid. It's a health issue a little bit too with the head.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
all
you
right,
all.
everyone have a great day.
You too, please. Ms. Barker, come on up. Have we got news for you, huh? So while she's coming up, I will hold up the wild fowl. Did you see this? This is so neat. And I'll hold it up that it's the front page weekend paper was the story. So why don't you tell us what from our meetings and what you know?
Update. Good morning, everyone. It was a really good meeting we had last week. Talk about puppies, kitties, rainbows, and unicorns. We had them. It was. We finally are able to present to you today in your packet the running at large ordinance, and thanks to Carrie Laird and John Coughlin from the state's attorney's office. You have a copy of what the final is, and then as Chairman Wheeler requested, the redlined copy of what is taken out and what has been added. And we're asking today for it'd be on the last page there. It wasn't, it really is redlined with red.
It's on the very back picture.
To please take a look at it, and for your approval, we would like a motion to have it approved so we can send it on to the general board for approval at the April meeting.
And the purpose of this is as you read through, and is when we own our animals and livestock, they need to stay on our property. If we allow them to go on other people's property, then that's a violation, is what it's saying here.
Right.
But the part that Mr. Conklin helped us with so much is that there's the word unknowingly. Is that your word? Unknowingly?
Right. Sometimes they can break out and get loose and the owner is not aware of it.
It's the other way around. It's knowingly. So as long as if the owner doesn't know that his animals got loose, the dog opened the gate on its own, then it's not quite as bad in a violation.
Right. We have that, and a lot of it is I've had, because I live out in the country, a lot of complaints about people who like to jog out in subdivisions, and the dogs are running loose. Like when you have a Doberman chasing you and nipping at your heels while you're trying to run, it's kind of a danger to you. But also when dogs are running loose, you don't want them to not, bite anyone, but you don't want them to get hit by a car either.
No.
So it's just safe for both the animal and the people. So we're asking that you approve this today so we can send this on to the general board.
And if Carrie were here, she would tell you that this will help her work a lot. It's to help when animals are running at large. That's exactly what it's titled there. So.
And children playing in the yard and a dog is loose and jumping on a child or, accidentally biting the child, when they have, you know, the child thinks they're going to play, but then they end up not being so friendly. So it's just a safety for everyone.
Okay. Mr. Wheeler.
I'm trying to think back, as when this originally came, it might have been, what, a year and a half ago?
Yes.
This was started being talked about. It seemed like the impetus wasn't the one-off, the dog let itself out. It was the person that was 6 times had the same animal running at large.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this addresses. You still, not you, animal control would still have the purview to say, okay, well, this is the first time, just make sure you do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Second time, maybe, come on. Okay, if we have to come here again, then we're gonna start have to find, but that's what I think this is addressing. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chairman.
And then, I'm sure it's mostly just dogs and cats, but do you ever see any gerbils running at large, or ferrets, mongoose?
Quite often.
Quite often. Yes. There's a mongoose mill out. No, yeah. No, I'm just kind of. It's mainly dogs and cats, and you do see some cattle and horses as well.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, in my district, I was driving down the road and there was a horse loose, and I had to pull over, and the owner was coming out to get it hit, gotten out, and it was just sort of blocking the road. So yeah, sometimes large animals, cattle.
The horse isn't on this list.
I know. Well, okay. Do we have to send it back?
Navo.
I'm gonna. John's looking over here and shaking his head.
John, you want to come up and we'll put your microphone on. I'll turn on your microphone.
I'm thinking farming.
What we tried to do was cover all the animals. We put the domestic animals, but also farm animals. So it's anything that any type of animal that is out and shouldn't be out will be covered by the ordinance. The part about the knowingly, we've got other ordinances that deal with just, you know, if your dog's out and animal control has to pick them up and take them in, you have to pay a fee. But that's not a violation in and of itself. You know, if we're going to charge somebody with a ordinance violation where it's subject to a fine and you have to go to court, then we wanted to have a provision that you know it's out there. We had a case shortly after I joined the office where a bunch of cattle were out, and they were charged with running at large. But the gentleman came in. He said, you know, look, there was a storm, a tree fell, it broke the fence, the livestock got out. You know, in that particular case, he had no clue, and why would we be charging somebody if it's, you know, a strict offense like that? So that was the reason for it, to give due process to the owners, but also take into consideration the needs of animal control.
Yeah. And that's exactly for the sentence. It shall be a defense to the violation that the owner or custodian had no knowledge of the domestic animal at large. That's exactly what you just said.
That's why we did that.
Yes, that was very well done. Okay, Ms. Bryant?
It doesn't say horse, but it does say all other animals.
There was too many animals to list them all. So.
Yes.
Gerbil would have been one if it had, no. Yeah.
Livestock is addressed down towards the very end. But we do want to thank you so much, Mr. Coughlin, you and Carrie Laird both, for helping us with this.
That was our pleasure.
We really appreciate it.
So, to the credit of your committee, the AWAC committee, this is a list that I've taken from our website, the county website of the ordinances since May 8th, 2018 that the committee has worked on, whether it was the sale of dogs and cats at the swap meets, or whether we addressed their being out in the cold weather, or whatever it was.
Reckless dog.
Your committee has been able to process them, so this is another one. So we're at the point, if you have no, Mr. Signage?
Just the purpose of just a little correction. After that word county in that first sentence, that period needs to be behind the county and double space to get to that all, just a little cleanup as far as that's concerned.
Tell me where. Tell me.
The first in section 10, 11B offenses, where it says running at large prohibited.
Okay.
Okay, you need to read that first sentence when you get to that period. That period should be by closer to the Y, and then it's a double space between all.
Okay, so
I'm not even seeing that.
Maybe you have more spaces than I do.
It's the same one I'm having here. If it says has entered into the intergovernmental agreement with the county. Right, now that period is moved over. It should be right behind the Y.
Yeah.
Then it's the double space before all.
Yeah.
So
it's
just to correct it when it goes into our books.
Interesting. My period moved over.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and I go, I don't see it.
I'll get you this copy. So thank you for that, because you're right. If your period, if yours is moved over, it needs to move back.
It's moved over.
Yeah, so definitely have to fire the typist. Listen, I had to blow up my computer to 120% so I could see this. But anyway, I notice a lot of people have asked, what exactly does AWAC do? And what have you been doing since we have put this committee together back in 2017, Chairman? And we have done quite a bit. And even though that we're not out there all the time with publicity, we are actively working, as you can see, by 6 different ordinances in the last several years, as well as working with different organizations and working around our table with the state's attorney's office and with Carrie Laird of Animal Control. There's quite a bit of work that has been done. So when people say, what exactly is it that you do and what have you done? I think today is just a little day for us to sit back and say, we're doing quite a bit. So anyway, moving on.
Do you need a motion?
Oh, okay. I'm excited. Does
someone move? Ms. Bryan moves that we accept that, or recommend that it go to full county. Okay, is there a second to the motion? Mr. Kirkstra will second it. A roll call vote on the sending it to full board.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Ms. Parker?
Aye.
Ms. Polk? Ms. Polk?
She's still muted.
Mr. Snipes?
Aye, with necessary correction.
Yes.
Ms. Peters?
Aye.
Mr. Carrico? Mr. Kirkstra?
Aye.
Mr. Daryl Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Aye.
Ms. Bryan?
Aye.
Ms. Hudson?
Aye.
Mr. Kenneth Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Alexander?
Aye.
Ms. Polk?
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Great.
Okay, so while we'll go to the next one.
The next one, we have been working on this project. As Carol said, it's been on the front page of the paper. Saturday is our wild fowl signage that will be in different park areas. We have 54 signs, 27 in English, 27 in Spanish, and we do have a template of it to show the committee today. It was previewed at...
Go ahead, turn to the back of the room, if you will. And let me ask Zoom people, can you see the back of the room where the sign is? No, you can't see that. Okay, Jason. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a copy of the English sign. And holding it is Miss Dawn Tutt, who is quoted in the newspaper. This is her heart project, special to her with her life's work that she does. Would you like to add what's the highlight of the sign, the importance of the sign?
The importance of the sign is to just do not feed the wildlife. Just because of all the conditions, the malnutrition, the overcrowding, the pollution, the diseases, attraction of other pests, things that come in. Instead of just placing a sign that says do not feed, we felt like we owed the public some explanations as to why it's not a good idea, to get them to change some old habits that we've had. So we put it all together in some text. Again, we've got 27 different locations where these will be going up. There's some additional interest by the state park may even come along with this. Other private areas, the individuals that in Briarcliff Association, they may decide to also put some signs up on their water recreational areas. So we're very, very pleased that this was able to come about, and through the state's attorney's office and the sheriff's department for the funding that sponsored these. So it didn't cost the taxpayers a dime. And we will have volunteers installing these, except in locations where it is the city village jurisdiction. They'd like to have their own maintenance staff for insurance purposes. Other locations, we'll put them in the ground.
So the thank you to Dawn for all her hard work on that, but also to the state's attorney's office, the sheriff's. They were using grants to help to complete. It's already paid for one thing. To the the company that, would you tell us who printed
Digital
them?
World Design that just relocated to a new facility in Bradley. They've got a new location in Bradley. They have been paid, the signs have gone out to be manufactured. We should have them back in 3 or 4 weeks.
And the park districts who allow the signs to be there.
Correct.
Thanks to all those and to the committee that helped along. So,
absolutely.
Mr. Wheeler?
Also, all funding, there was no county money involved in this at all, on
No.
the signs, the production. Just the committee that put all of this together was, the resource allocation was from the county.
Exactly.
So, and then DNR, what was their angle in this?
The
Department of Natural Resources.
That was
DNR.
the park is
Just
the state park is part of it.
support of it, but the state park, Don, go ahead and mention what the state park official said to you.
When I was speaking with one of the state park officials, because I was speaking to one of the DNR officers, Brian Elliott, who happened to be in at the same time, the director at the state park mentioned this may be a project that they would like to investigate into undertaking this year to use on state park properties. So they're going to begin an investigation. At the same time, their regional superintendent was also in and has shown an interest that if this is something that's successful at the state park level, if they're able to adopt and move forward with it, this could go as large as regional, covering multiple counties.
And it just turned out, Chairman Wheeler, that when we were investigating where the areas, to identify the areas where the sign should be, when I talked to the different park districts, I kept asking about, and I said, well, you don't have this one in the same area. No, this not ours, this not ours, this not ours. And finally it turned out to be the department, the State Department there. And it was in our county, but it was kind of governed a little bit by them. So we're going to put the sign there on Davis Creek.
Yeah, state park maintenance staff will place the one at Davis Creek. IDNR has jurisdiction there as well. IDNR was obviously involved, and I had reached out to them as well to get their opinion on our verbiage, what the state feels about the do not feed the waterfowl, and they are completely on board. IDNR love the idea as well.
Well, and then as and a thanks to the Daily Journal, because the article on front page and also the editorial in last night's paper said that very important thing. This is a nice idea. It will take people reading and abiding by it.
Correct.
So that's the whole part.
Correct.
I think it's beautiful signage. It draws your eye. People are gonna be curious about that.
And we had a prototype of will it be eye level, and the sign will be eye level. You don't have to go
And
read
it's
down.
got the insignia of the county, and the state police, and the DNR on it, so it's like official. You want to obey the rules and read it.
It's very educational. It's very educational. Many people say, I go to the park and we feed bread, and we find out that the bacteria that is left and the damaging the environment of all the things that are fed. So basically is do not feed. And I don't want to see any, after reading that in the paper last night, geese chased with tennis rackets. I think I would have probably got a little hysterical about that.
Mr. Snipes.
I think it's a nice sign. Just want to ask, are they going to, when you remanufacture those, will there be the holes for mountings in them?
Oh, it's all in the same. It was all in the. Is that what you said? The mounting.
See, this sign don't have a mounting. So is that more
That's a template.
This is a template. This is a prototype. Let me step away for a minute. This is the thinner material. This is not what the sign board will actually be finished on, but to get us a prototype for our last month's meeting and another one, the product is actually the double aluminum on both sides with the thicker poly film. They'll be this step. You won't be able to damage these.
Will they be able to drill a hole in there so they can mount them? Is what I was looking at. Yeah.
Well, your question is a very good question, because the price and the payment was for the signs, the bolt stick, and the post. The
Mounting
posts, the bolts,
hardware.
and the signs are all in one price.
Hardware, posts, signage, everything is included.
Oh,
All
okay.
in one package.
It's all taken care of.
They will be pre-drilled. They will mount on the posts that have come along, and all of the hardware will be included. When the order comes in 3 or 4 weeks, it'll be one stop, pick it all up.
And I think we even know how deep in the ground it's supposed to go.
Correct. We originally I'd sent a prototype over with our AWAC committee about the recommended height for posting, and there will not be 2 signs per post, making it more difficult to read. They will stand alone. English will stand on its own post. Spanish will stand on its own post.
Good questions. Anything else? Just
And we do have Dr. Wegner, who has a team of volunteers that if a park district can't put it in or doesn't have time to put it in, that they will be going out and placing it where designated areas by the park district.
Correct.
So,
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So.
Okay, what else do you have?
Well, we marked off 2 things off of our long-term goals, and we're getting ready. We just started planning. We met a small subcommittee of this committee, got together, and we're working on trap, neuter, return, vaccinate program. And several of us have gotten together and discussing it. It's going to be basically starting with education of not only our committee, but of the people in the county of exactly what we're looking for, and then working with animal control. So it's going to be a very long-term project. It's going to take some time, and we're working with a lot of people on this. So that's next on our agenda. And then working on hopefully getting together with the state's attorney's office of a public forum with the shelters, and Bradley Police, Bourbonnais Police, Animal Control, and AWAC would be there. And it was held again, was 2018. And we're hoping to have that happen again in the near future. So we're going to be working on that. So bring more programs out in the open, and people can ask questions and educate people.
Yeah, it was an animal, the care of animals and the prevention of cruelty to animals is what the seminar will be about. Okay.
Definitely, with booths and seminars, and they're going to bring dogs, hopefully.
He meant, State's Attorney Rowe mentioned the difference in the dog sniffing these days when cannabis is legal. So it makes a whole difference of finding it.
Very interesting. It was very popular back in 2018. I hope it's the same in 21.
Mr. Snipes mentioned a couple meetings ago that it would be good to have the cats back in the neighborhood, though. And so that was the idea, is to capture, neuter, put them back so they can catch your mice. Is what you wanted for. Okay. Ms. Todd, do you have something?
The tentative date for the animal prevention through the State Attorney General is April 22nd.
22nd.
Yeah, this is tentative. Right, tentative.
Depending on if the KCC has the availability, things like that.
Yeah, COVID.
What else?
That's
enough?
Well, yeah.
That's enough for now.
We're going to be charging through even more projects. So it's a really good committee. I want to thank our committee. Tremendous amount of work that has gone into working together. We sit around the table, and it is actually a working, cohesive group of people that have a plan, an idea, and able to put it together and bring it forward to this group. So I'm real proud of the volunteers. They're all volunteers around that table working for an animal.
Well, it's also always nice to be at a committee meeting and they say, I can do that, I'll do that, I can do that, I'll help you do that. That's really a nice committee.
Right, so. It is, it really is. And we're just...
Thank you for your leadership.
Puppies, kitties, rainbows, and unicorns. Happy news this month. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anything else for anyone? Anything? Mr. Kirkstra? Do you have any?
Keeping with tradition?
You can.
Madam Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Mr. Snipes seconded. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed to that? Say aye. Motion is, the meeting is adjourned.